Hi everyone, I just wanted to take a quick break in this fantastic episode to ask you this. Are you as fed up as I am with all the stress triggers that we're constantly bombarded with every day? From geoengineering, EMFs, fake and toxin-filled food, unstable political leaders that no one trusts have our best interest at heart, global agendas, financial struggles, the list feels endless, doesn't it? But here's the thing, there are solutions. Whatever challenges the so-called powers that be throw at us, nature and we as real humans always have the ability to rise above it and find the answers. I've seen it time and time again, not just in my own life, and trust me, I'm a natural worrier, but also with the many clients I've worked with over the years, both human and animal. That's why I've created something that I'm incredibly excited to share with you. My Mastering Stress and Resetting Your Nervous System online course. This is where I've pulled together all my best tools, techniques and strategies, everything that's made a huge difference for me personally and my clients. And the best part is you get lifelong access so you can revisit whenever you need. You can ask questions as you go through the course. There's an 80-page comprehensive ebook, over 4 hours of videos and audios, discounts on products and consults, and free access to bonus modules with expert guests. And to top it all, you can get the free Teachable app for on-the-go learning so you can incorporate all of this into your already busy routine. The time's right now to take back control of your health, your stress levels and your life. So let's do this together. Click on the link below this video, join our incredible community, and no matter whatever the world throws to us, we'll thrive. Because the truth is, we are all stronger than we think we are. And when we combine the power of nature with our determination, we're simply unstoppable. So let's make this happen together. The link to join is below. And now back to the podcast. Right, I am so happy to introduce a new guest and actually a lovely friend today to all of you. And you are in for a treat because today we are going to hear from the amazing Sue Stone. Now, Sue is a multi-talented lady and she's an author, she's a motivational speaker, she's a life's coach, a happiness coach, she's a mentor, and most importantly, a mother to two-legged and four-legged beautiful beings. But Sue's story is completely incredible, and I thought it was about time we all had a little bit of a pick-me-up, Sue, about how we can refocus on how much we can transform ourselves and can transform our lives, because there's so much negativity at the moment, and I thought who better to do it for us than Sue. So first of all, how are you doing today?
Hi, Catherine. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm great. I'm great. A very positive statement to start. Yes, all is well. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me on to chat with you.
I'm so looking forward to it because I always learn so much every time I'm with you, Sue. Now, I will say for our listeners, we've got a few internet issues today. So just be patient. If it freezes a bit, it won't hold up the conversation, I promise you. But I wanted to start today, Sue, since you're new to my channel, although a lot of my listeners will know you, you've got an incredible journey that you've been on your pursuit of happiness, from real rags to riches story, really, with hitting rock bottom and turning it around for yourself. Just so people can really understand how much real life experience you've got in everything that you talk about. Talk us through a bit of that journey about where you were at and what and how you turned it around for yourself.
Okay, yes, thanks, Catherine. So it goes back quite a long time now. So actually 25 years ago, I split up with my husband and I had 3 young children who obviously you know, my daughter Natalie and identical twin boys, Rich and Nick. And I had a belief at the time that once one thing went wrong, a load of other things would go wrong. And I had no idea what a self-fulfilling prophecy that was going to be. And things truly did go from bad to worse. And briefly, it just got to the stage where we were in terrible debt. My ex-husband, who, as you know, is a great friend of mine now, but at the time did absolutely nothing, just walked away with the debt, leaving me to feed our 3 children, and actually to this day has never contributed to the children. So I know a lot of people can relate to that sort of story. And I was getting credit cards to fund loans and loans to fund the mortgages. And it was the most desperately fearful time. And I was driving in a car that I had to get rid of because I just couldn't afford to keep it. And things were just going from bad to worse. And then, you know, bailiffs turning up. Trust me, I was caught in all the drama. It was horrible. And it got to the point where one day I realized I was maxed out on every single bank account I had. And I realized I had just £10 left in my purse. I was facing repossession of my home and had to go to court as a litigant in person for that. So to be honest, you know, I've been the expert of being caught in the drama, and it was a desperate time. I was desperately unhappy emotionally, you know, and financially. But when I realized that £10 moment, which I was hugely embarrassed about at the time. You know, I didn't want people to know how bad my life had got. And but that was my wake-up call. And I remember the following day waking up and having a little cry, but saying to myself, Sue Stone, if you don't do something to turn your life around, no one is going to do it for you. And my lovely dad, who'd maybe if he'd been alive would have bailed me out, you know. My mum had MS and I didn't want to worry her, multiple sclerosis, and they've both been long gone, sadly. But, you know, it was very much, girl, you've got to do something now. And that's what set me on my path to, you know, start reading, researching books to change my life. And that's what I did. Obviously, I had to take lots of practical steps in the beginning. You know, I got rid of the car. I bought a car for £200. My sister gave me £200 to buy this cheap car. I couldn't even believe that a car would work for £200, you know. And I came clean to a few friends who would turn up with boxes of food and alcohol and wine for me and things. Yeah. So, but that was the journey of me starting to understand everything that I love to share now. So yeah, that was a journey, understanding just how powerful we all are, the power of our thoughts, our emotions. And I've just delved deeply into it over the 20 odd years, because I had this real thing. People say, you've got to be positive. When things are bad, you could be positive. But when you're caught in the drama, if someone says, oh, just be positive, you want to tell them where to go, really, don't you? And but something made me keep researching at so many different levels. Why is it so important? And of course, I've discovered that this is actually ancient wisdom that's been around since the beginning of time. And what I love is that science backs it all up. It's all very much more aligned now. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on and on, as you know, but I think the big thing is that I think the fear of being homeless was what made me work on myself, if you understand, you know, for being homeless and not being able to feed my children. And when I started to understand very simply that we get more of what we focus on, and of course, all I was focusing on was, I'm not going to be able to feed my children. I'm going to be homeless with my kids. And I realized, Sue Stone, you're doing this all wrong. You know, 2 simple phrases that helped me so much is my thoughts create my future. That's a very powerful phrase that I first learned years ago. But then I also realized that it's the way we feel in every moment is what we're creating. It's the emotion, the energy emotion of what we're radiating. I mean, as I say, I could go on and on and on, but those 2 little phrases are so important. So when we get angry, we're in a state of fear. Of course, we're just sending that consciousness out across the ether into the universe to effortlessly draw to us more on that vibration. So, I mean, I can go into more details of different things.
Yeah, we're going to dive deep into this because it's such a fantastic story, Sue, because so many people, they're used to hearing these things in in theoretical terms and the ancient wisdom, but you hit the nail on the head there when you said when you're in that fear state and everything around you seems to be crumbling, that person that comes along and tells you to think positive is likely not to get the best response, let's face it. But there you had that strength, to that belief, to not succumb to the fear. I'm sure you did at some stages, but to keep working on
Oh,
yourself. And at the moment, we're seeing so much, it's almost like there's lots of my listeners, lots of your people, they're on this awakening journey, I like to call it, of seeing that there's always so much to discover. Things might not be how they've been taught it is, but there's a lot to pull people back on an individual and a collective level into this fear state and feeling powerless and out of control and waiting for the white knight to rescue them. So with your journey and the work you do with people, when you were in that state, Sue, I mean, it is quite an incredible transformation you and your family have been through. Where did you start? How do people that find themselves in this fear state, where do you recommend they start?
okay. Well, one of the biggest things, like I said, when I started to become the observer of myself, when I started understanding just how powerful our thoughts and our words, don't forget, every thought we think, every word we speak, and every emotion we have affects us at the quantum level. And I think most people know these days that everything's energy. We are all energy, and we're radiating this energy. People pick up good vibes from people and bad vibes, don't they? But we are all radiating frequency and vibration. This is the energy. But all those years ago, before I knew the depth of what I know now, is, like I said, I became the observer of myself and started having almost a moment by moment awareness of what was I thinking, feeling, and saying, and where was I putting my focus. And even though nothing changes dramatically quickly, there is a transition. But as I say, once we get our inner world right, our outer world reflects. And I just had to get back to basics because I was consumed with fear and desperation. But when I realized that all I'm doing is radiating that energy, I got back to basics and focused on the few things, which were more than we think, I had to be grateful for. It really was as simple as that. I would walk out in the garden and be grateful for the abundance of air that we breathe, sort of walking barefoot out in nature. Even that is really, regenerating, revitalizing, and grounding as well. And I literally had that simple shift from going from what I didn't want to what I did want. I started thinking, I became solution conscious, not problem conscious. So my predominant focus and energy was on finding a solution, not being caught in the drama of the problem. And it does take a bit of practice, but we know now that we're not hardwired. We, with neuroscience, because I've been right down that route as well, that we can create new neural pathways in our brain. And we can do that quite quickly if we start to talk to ourselves in a positive way and convert, as I would say, that inner critic, that negative self-sabotaging voice that go, oh no, God, everything's going wrong, to acknowledging it and saying, you know what, it's okay that I'm having this thought right now, because right now everything around me is crumbling and it's not good, but I'm letting you go, negative thought. And I'm now open, and I literally would deliberately focus on finding a solution, and I would literally do all this and say to myself, I am now open to all the ways, money can turn up in my life. I'm now open to seeing the solution. And I literally did this, and it's incredible when we start focusing on where we want to get to, not where we don't want to get to. That is when we truly can, as I would say, create seemingly impossible miracles in our life. And by shifting our vibration into one of even just gratitude for the air we breathe, like I said, feel your pulse back, and feeling the love for my children. And I literally did all that moment by moment awareness. And suddenly, like I say, when we're solution conscious, the right people suddenly appear in our lives at the right time. And it really is quite magical. but you've really got to do this stuff. It's no point just reading and going on the courses, or that you've got to apply this stuff into your life and have fun with it.
That's so important that you point that out, because there is this sort of almost paralysis by analysis that lots of people do. They can spend so much time listening, absorbing, reading the books, going on the training, but not actually putting it into practice. So the balance of that is absolutely key. And I would love to hear your perspective in terms of, with the journey that you've been in and these huge amount of tools that you've accumulated, when people are trying to find their sort of place in this world. And what I mean by that is they're sort of understanding that there might be these problems that are affecting them. A lot of people, for example, have health issues at the moment, Sue. And in one respect, if they don't understand where those health issues are coming from, it's quite difficult for them to look for their solutions. But once people realize that a lot of our food chain is poisoned, they start doing like your family have done, creating their own food supply. So how would you recommend, if someone's listening to this, that they make that journey from not staying in the problem, so not shutting off the awareness of the problems, but not staying there?
It's a tricky one for me to talk on the health side, because I let go of all the negative stuff and I don't hold on to, as we say, holding on to resentment and bitterness or fear or stress. Of course, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's quite a blunt statement, but part of what I've taught is to let go of the past. And of course, we know if we hold on to the dis-ease, this can often manifest as disease and illness. And because I have been in such a consistently hardwired positive state for such a long time, I don't get poorly. So I wouldn't want to really comment too much on anyone that's going through a huge health challenge at the moment, because I only ever like to talk from my own personal experience. But in terms of being mindful of why we've, of course, a lot of the things that you talk about anyway, but I also, from an emotional point of view, if we're in that stress situation, this is what, or, emotional upset, or like a holding on to any of the negative emotions, this, of course, does create the dis-ease in the body, which, of course, will show itself somewhere. So it's being mindful to work on ourselves first, I think, and rather than fear the illness. From the research I've done, it's better to send love to it, because, our body has this incredible capacity to heal. So, we're more into the natural type of healing anyway, and being mindful of what we're putting in our body. So I think there's lots of things here. But as I say, I personally, which I'm very blessed about, have not had a major health problem. So it's a bit more difficult to comment. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk us through, we hear this all the time that, we've got to really concentrate on getting our own lives in order and healing ourselves first. But when people are worried about so many things that they perceive are having such a dramatic effect on their finances, the political situation, wars across the globe, what have you learned about, no, look, it's true, we really have got to heal ourselves first, otherwise nothing else is going to resolve itself?
I think, yeah, there's a lot. You see, I don't really listen to the news. I don't get caught into the drama of any of that. Haven't done for an awful long time. It is designed to put us into a state of fear, as we know. So, but we all live in our own bubble of experience, and there is always a solution. So for me, it's if we're solution conscious, we'll find it, rather than listening to out there. And I understand there's a lot of people with problems, but if we just get caught into the problem and can't see, if we believe, for example, that our problems are too big to solve, we literally will not see the solution.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my work, just sort of, I know I'm jumping around a bit here, is of for people to, by being the observer of themselves, identify the beliefs that they have about themselves and their life and in the world that may be holding them back. Because anything is possible. We've got this incredible, limitless universe that we can tap into. And if we believe that things are so difficult, we're never going to get out of this, that is exactly what we create. We all live in our own bubble of experience of how we see the world. So having gone from thinking everything's going wrong, everything's going wrong, everything's going wrong, to actually everything's going right. I am open to finding the solution here. And things are changing in the world.
Yeah.
You know, this is a whole different thing that's going on as well. And we've really got to not rely on anything out there, but just one of the things, the biggest breakthroughs for me was to really live in the now. This is the only moment we've got.
Sorry, we missed that
right
bit.
Now.
We lost you for a minute. So
we live in an eternal moment of now. I'm sorry, we're down a lane and the internet connection is so bad down here, but I have got my Ethernet cable in. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back now. So we just lost you when you were talking about how important it is to be in the now state.
Okay, so as I say, we live in an eternal moment of now, and our point of power is now. It's not when we've done that, or when we've done that, or when the government's changed, or when this has changed, or that's changed. What our point of power is now. And when I realized that all those years ago, I used to think, number one, why would I choose thoughts that are going to make me unhappy? Because I don't want to be miserable. And number two, when you know, and this is science, that the way we feel in every moment is what we are creating, it's not really rocket science. Why give energy and attention to what you don't want, to the fear? And try and see yourself past, see yourself. I would visualize. Visualization is hugely powerful. And of course, that's something else with health as well. Our brain cannot tell the difference between what it sees in our imagination and what it sees in real life. So the same visual cortex fires. So visualize yourself well, healthy. I am healing. I am financially abundant. Even though I don't know how it's coming into my life, I am grateful for all the good that's coming into my life right now. And this stuff really does work like magic when we live it consistently. It really does. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're still there. I love it. And for those people that haven't got it yet, we're going to be talking more about Sue's latest book. This is just an absolute phenomenal little book, A Wonderful Word for All. And you cover a lot of what we're talking about in real detail here. But one of the things I want to ask you about is, from what you've learned, what you've put in the book, do you have certain sort of rituals or daily habits that you do that keep you on track?
Okay, I just live like this. This is my normal state. Okay, I'm hardwired to be positive and grateful now. And we know, by the way, when we start to work on ourselves, within sort of anywhere between 14 and 42 days, we can start to create new neural pathways. And if we keep up this more positive way of thinking, solution thinking, or gratitude thinking, and the words that we speak as well, by about 6 months, neuroscience says we could be hardwired in that direction. So it's not a big thing to go on for. But, I've completely lost what I was going to say then. What did you say?
Well,
Sorry.
in terms of no, that's fine. Over the years, have you accumulated sort of any daily habits that
everyday
really
stuff?
work for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what I always recommend when people come is, even just when you wake up in the morning, spend 5 minutes thinking about what you've got to be grateful for, and the people you love, because it's a fantastic vibration to start the day on. So that's something I used to write myself post-it notes when I first learned this, to be grateful, so that when I woke up, because my old self, my former self, would wake up and think, oh no, what drama's today going to bring, or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's a great one to, while you're in that sleepy state, in that alpha brainwave state, when you're just coming to think about everything you've got to be grateful, and the people you love. Great vibration, start the day. I would then be mindful the whole way through, but obviously right now I just love and thrive in every moment, because obviously life can send us challenges, but it's how we let them affect us is our choice. But I have certain, like at last thing at night, I stand out and look at the stars with my chamomile tea and say, thank you, beautiful, magical sky. I always keep my vibration high. And another one of my favorite phrases, if I'm out, in the garden with the horses, poo picking or walking out the back fields, I am rich beyond my wildest dreams. I am. I am rich beyond my wildest dreams, in love and joy and health and wealth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So these are some of my kind of power statements that I just like to say, but because I believe it now, and as you know, I'm very passionate about helping people to also create a life they love. That, I live it, I breathe it, and of course, then in turn, we're radiating that positive energy, which can become contagious for people. And we don't realize the people we're touching, and the impact it's having in the world in helping raise the vibration. So yeah, lots of positive self-talk, but like I said, I'm hardwired to be like this now, but it's well worth putting the work in, chaps. Anyone listening, guys and girls,
It really is.
is well worth putting the work in.
I mean, I just want to reiterate, because I've seen how Sue lives, surrounded by her beautiful family, her beautiful animals, nature, food that your family are growing yourself, and it's such an example of what's possible. So you've just touched on there, Sue, about that you work with people in lots of different ways. And one of the things I love so much and I think it touches on what we talked about earlier, you're aware enough of problems that might come up to face people, that people are facing in their real current life, but you've got so many practical solutions about how you support people. So give us some examples of the different ways that you work with people and some of the successes that you've had.
Well, the main thing I like to do is, whether I work on a one-to-one basis or I do a 2-day event at my home, which is, I call them transformational 2 days at my home, but it's very much understanding where people are at in their lives, but also just sharing, number one, how and why this stuff works, which is so important to know that everything I've talked about, our thoughts, our emotions, our words we speak is what we're creating. And then how to apply it in your everyday life. But also, I'm very passionate about what I call letting go techniques, transformational techniques. And over the years, I've been introduced to EFT, emotional freedom technique, with the tapping. I found that hugely beneficial. I wrote about that in my first book, Love Life, Live Life. Also, I love Ho'oponopono, and which is an ancient Hawaiian family healing forgiveness mantra, which is so powerful. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, which of course I write about in the book. Also, how we can tap into our heart's intuition with the brain and heart coherence, how simply we can do all this stuff. And meditation, just being out in nature and just knowing. I think the key here is, people talk about it, but taking 100% responsibility for ourselves and how we're interacting in the world, and that we are creating our world and our bubble of experience. So remember to use the tools, because sometimes we might get triggers. Years ago, there was no point getting angry or frustrated if I had no control. It's my response to it. And if I'm just angry and shouting, all I'm doing is disempowering myself. So by, when we observe, in the government and things, it's shocking. It's appalling what's going on. But I don't get caught in the drama. I think, right, that's not my reality. This is where I'm going. And it's amazing just the impact it's having on people, how we can shift. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And Wayne Dyer made that statement well known, but actually it was Max Planck and quantum physics, with understanding just how we look at things and view things, and how we can create through quantum physics, and understanding all that, how we create our experience.
I love that. I love the way that you and so many other people bring together the sort of ancient wisdom, the practical application, but also you are so right, quantum physics is proving all this, and it's also proving how we are all intricately connected, and that the speed of light has gone well out the window. Things can travel instantaneously, connections wherever they were in the universe. And so I think when people almost throw out some of these old belief systems that are not serving them anymore, then that's when real transformation can change, really hit in. So in your book, you also talk about the ascension process and what that means to you. Can you talk us through about how that's relevant in people understanding that if they really want to make changes in their life?
Well, this is going on anyway, and we've known about it since, well, I've known, since, as some would say, the cosmic moment of 2012, when we knew that all the old systems born out of fear, control, and greed would start to break down and be exposed. And it's very simply is that the energies are rising, and we are heading to create a more wonderful world. Obviously with the alignment of the planets, then we've got with Pam Gregory talks about, I don't really understand the astrology, but it's supporting it. Obviously we've got Diana Cooper talking about the golden age, and loads of other people coming, but this ascension process is just as we shift in our consciousness of how we see the world. And I think that's all it is. When we can move away from fear, don't forget fear, greed, worry, anxiety, it's a lower vibration. And as we start to be grateful for the good in our lives, and we expand our consciousness and our awareness, and start realizing that we're here for the greater good of all, not just for ourselves. And of course, in my former life, I was so caught in my drama. I didn't care one iota what was going on in the world. I've got to be honest. I was caught in my drama and never thought I would be talking about stuff like this. But now we are going through this ascension process. As our energies rise, we start to thrive and find peace, love, and harmony in our own lives. We're raising the consciousness of not only ourselves as part of this ascension process, but then also for the collective consciousness. And it will just contribute to us creating a more wonderful world for all, sharing, caring, going from a world of competition and greed to cooperation, collaboration, compassion, and care and kindness. And this is the world we are moving into, and it's happening already if we look around us.
It really is. You can really feel it. And as you say, if you look for it and you put your attention to looking for it, then you start to see it everywhere. One of the things that I'm really fascinated about, I know you are just as much an animal lover as I am, and most of my listeners are. And I always find, Sue, that animals can teach us so much about connecting back in with our intuition. It's such an important way of life, really, that so many of us humans have forgotten about and don't necessarily place high up the hierarchy. What have you learned about tapping back into your intuition, and how do you make that real for people in terms of really understanding how much of an impact it can have on their lives and how they can actually start to do it?
What, intuition or with animals?
Intuition, tapping into
Oh, right.
an intuition.
Oh, well, of course, my old self didn't understand any of that, and I would try and work everything out for myself. That's how we're brought up, that very logical, overthinking, analytical brain. And then for me to sort of transition into absolutely trusting and surrendering to the macro intelligence, to God, to source, to whatever, and absolutely trusting my intuitive guidance. That's been a big shift for me. But as you know, I write about in the book the tapping into the power of our heart's intuition. But and I don't know if you want me to share that process,
Yes,
but
please do.
I it's something I've learned, and the importance of not thinking about it with our head, and when we can get the brain and heart coherence. There's one neurological process, they're connected. And what we found out with the monks and the Tibetan or Buddhist monks, that they can just tap into their intuition literally on tap, on demand. And so I learned a lot of this from the HeartMath Institute and Greg Braden some years ago, and that they realized that we could get into tapping into our heart's intuition for healing, anti-aging, to get guidance, to get wisdom, and all this sort of stuff. And we can do this so simply by achieving what we call gamma state, which is a higher brainwave state. And by literally, first of all, in 3 simple steps, if we can put our hand on our heart and get our attention to our heart, we then slow our breathing down with into 5 and then out for 5. We just slow our breathing down. And by slowing our breathing down, we're telling our bodies we're safe. And then by focusing, just a 3-minute section can trigger things. By, as we're breathing in for 5 and out for 5, nice steady breathing, but slightly slower, focus and attention on our heart. We then shift our thought process into 4 things. Anything that we could appreciate, anything we could be grateful for, compassion and care. So any of those emotions triggers this gamma state. And if we can hold that for 3 minutes, what it's doing is releasing chemicals to the brain, which then release into the body, which will then activate all sorts of processes, not only within the body, but tapping into our higher wisdom and guidance. And what I love, it's just such a simple technique that people can do. And this process of doing it for just 3 minutes can trigger this biochemical response in the body for up to 6 hours. So if we were to do it every 6 hours, or as we're going to sleep at night, the benefits for healing, for example, for, as I say, just trusting that we are now tapping into that wisdom of the heart, because of course the brain will probably try and make a decision judged on our previous experiences, and say, well, that never works for me. But if we can just trust it, that we will be shown the way. And it's so powerful, yet so simple. I hope that makes sense. And if we just do that for a few days, we can actually maintain that state of being. And I think the key with everything, I would say to people, is have that vision plus inspired action. Because it's all very well having a vision of what you want to create, but that old paradigm of action, 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 it's a numbers game, push, push, push. All we're doing is creating resistance. We're not in flow in the universe, okay, or energetically. And if we're pushing, getting frustrated, that's another reason people don't get results, because in that state of frustration, they're effectively giving off an energy of frustration to effortlessly, because we're all effortlessly manifesting all the time, to draw to ourselves more things to frustrate us. So it really, when people say go with the flow, it really is be in flow. It's how we're being, not doing.
Yeah.
But being in the flow doesn't mean being treated badly, put down. It's about, value yourself. No one's any more important than anybody else. Everybody has their own unique gift to offer, and everybody is just as powerful as everybody else. But it's about knowing how powerful we are. Everybody's worthy. And, it's back to that self-worth, self-belief, and starting to trust the process of one's intuition, the inspired action in spirit. It's the intuitive guidance we get given, and then we take the action.
Love it. I absolutely love all of that. How important have you found that the people around you are to being able to be consistent with this?
Oh, well, I get asked this an awful lot, of course. And I say to people, people often ask me, oh gosh, I'm working on myself. I'm trying to do this, but the people I work with are really negative, or the people I live with are really negative. And I do try and tell and of course it's important. We know that, you can become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but it's not getting caught into it. And I love to tell the story of the tiny little frog. Can I share the story of the little frog?
Yeah.
This little cartoon frog, someone sent me this years ago. It's from Malaysia. It was on a PowerPoint presentation. And all these little frogs were lined up, ready to race to the top of this high tower. But the crowd all gathered to say, it's too difficult. You're never going to be able to do that. That's way too hard. And all the little froggies started to run. And they're trying to but the crowd are yelling, no way, it's impossible. You'll never be able to do that. It's too difficult. But slowly but surely, all the little frogs give up. But this one little frog keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And this one frog makes it to the top of the tower. And everyone's like, wow, how did that one frog succeed when all the others gave up? And of course, it turned out that the frog was deaf.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah. But so I say to people, the wisdom or the moral of the story: be deaf to people around you that tell you that are constantly negative, and always be positive and trust your own inner wisdom and guidance. So I just say to people, just be deaf. Don't get caught into it. Don't listen to it. But I believe that once we start to become aware of people's negative voice, we can absorb it as our truth, or we don't.
Love it. That's the thing, is there's so many
living up.
Sorry.
I was going to say, if we're living unconsciously and we're not aware, and I've obviously worked with people who've been living surrounded by negative people, sometimes their parents, sometimes their partners, that constantly put them down, tell them they're not worthy. And if we're not careful, after a while, people start to believe this, and that is in their consciousness. And so a lot of what I do is encouraging people to, start to believe in themselves, and then we can have such huge shifts. It really does make such a difference.
Brilliant. So you don't need to use any of these excuses, people. It's easy for us to do it, but you can reframe all of them. So, Sue, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, you are a prolific author. The latest book of yours that I've got is this one, which can't really see on the screen, but it's called A Wonderful World for All. Tell people, how can they connect with you and work with you if they want to?
Oh, I'm always open to helping anybody from all walks of life. I've worked with all sorts of different people. So my website's probably the best thing, www.suestone.com. It's fairly simple. And obviously I'm on Facebook. I lost my profile, I think, like you did. We all got taken out last year. So I'm on Facebook and Insta, but only new profiles now. And I do a 2-day event. My next one's in January, which is, have I gone? Have you lost me?
You're back.
I'm back. Yeah, my next 2-day event at my home is in January, and we just have a wonderful 2 days. I love it, and I see the transformation in people. But I always feel that I believe I attract the people I can help. So if people feel drawn, then I always give people my best. And so yeah, but thanks. And you know, one of my favorite phrases, just to finish off: the more you love life, life loves you back. And that is the key. We only have the now, just to finish off. And I really embrace that. The more love you give to what is right now and the good around you, that love energy you're giving out, the more life loves you back and it comes to you. And it really does work.
I love it so much. So I'm so grateful for you sharing everything. You've got so many resources for people. And if anyone's watching this, if you're not where you want to be in any area of your life, don't worry about it. There's so much you can do. And having really supportive people like Sue, you know, it might be one of her books you want, it might be one of her online resources, it might just be one of her communities, or it might be working with Sue or someone else that resonates with you. The main thing is I think, Sue, is for people not to worry where they are now. You know, it's just where that based on their old belief systems or they have been. Everything's open to change, whatever your challenge is. And that's why I love your story so much, Sue, because you've been there, you've done it. We know what you're talking about works because you proved it time and time again over a long period of time now. So you're so inspirational to be around. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we might be back.
And I just say quickly, before I go, I do want to also, I don't have a short memory of, I do value my time, of course I do, but I don't have a short memory about how bad things are, you know, when financially. So I do support a lot of people. If anyone listening has got, you know, problems with debt or stuff like that, I mean, I do help a lot of people on that side. I've learned a lot about the financial system, but also if anyone, you know, I often speak and I don't charge for any of that. So I just want to say that if anyone's in that really desperate financial situation, I'm more than happy to have just an email, and Nat's my daughter, but also my PA can arrange and we can have a chat and see what I can do. So I just want to say that it's just come to me. It's very important for me. I don't want people thinking they've got to pay. I mean, people can buy a book, of course, you know, whatever, but anything desperate, I'm here and I will help as much as I can for nothing.
So that's so wonderful. And I know some of the work that Sue's done to help people in this area. It's incredible. She's so generous, she knows her stuff, she's learned so much, and she passes that on to help others. So Sue, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much. Now all Sue's contact details will be below. I hope you found this as uplifting as I have. Thank you so much for your time, Sue, and thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.